Look at your hands right now. 7 signs your brain mitochondria are dying. Look at your hands right now. Not tomorrow, not after this video. Right now. Put them in front of you and just notice what is there when you are not trying to perform. Because most people think brain problems start in memory. They think they start in confusion, speech, or balance. But in real clinical life, the hand often leaks the problem earlier. Tiny changes in speed, steadiness, grip, writing, and coordination can show up before people ever think to blame the nervous system. Careful hand observation is a classic neurological clue, and experts still treat it as a high-value part of the exam. Now let me say something important before we go any further. The title is dramatic. Your brain mitochondria are dying is the viral version. The medically honest version is this. Your hands can sometimes reveal early clues that your nervous system is under stress. And mitochondrial dysfunction is one possible part of that story, especially because neurons are unusually dependent on mitochondria for energy supply and calcium buffering. But your hands cannot diagnose mitochondrial disease by themselves, and none of the signs I am about to show you are specific to one cause. They are clues, not verdicts. What makes the hands so useful is that they sit at the far end of a very expensive biological system. Every smooth finger movement requires intact brain signaling, clean basal ganglia output, cerebellar timing, peripheral nerve conduction, neuromuscular transmission, and muscle energy. Fine motor disability is not a disease by itself. It is a symptom that can reflect breakdown anywhere along that chain. And if mitochondria are part of the problem, the hands are often one of the first places where the energy deficit becomes visible. I am going to walk you through 7 signs, not 7 diagnoses, 7 visible hand-level clues that your nervous system may not be running cleanly. Some of them point more toward movement disorder patterns. Some point more toward neuropathy. Some point more toward muscle energy failure. But all 7 matter, because the hand is where brain output becomes impossible to fake. If the circuitry is underpowered, the hands usually tell on it. Movement disorders including tremor, dystonia, Parkinsonism, myoclonus, and ataxia are all recognized in mitochondrial disease. And hand function domains like tremor, finger tapping, dexterity, and handwriting are widely used to monitor neurological disorders. The first sign is tremor. Hold your arms out in front of you and watch whether one hand or both begin to shake when you are at rest, holding posture, or reaching for a target. Tremor is one of the most common movement disorder presentations in clinical practice, and mitochondrial disease can include tremor as part of a broader neurological picture. That does not mean every shaking hand is a mitochondrial problem. Far from it. Tremor can come from essential tremor, medications, anxiety, thyroid issues, Parkinsonian syndromes, metabolic problems, or even fatigue. But if your hands are visibly oscillating when they should be quiet, that is not something to wave away as just getting older. The second sign is slowed finger tapping. Tap your index finger to your thumb as fast and as wide as you can for 10 seconds. Then switch hands. What neurologists look for is not just slowness. They look for shrinking amplitude, hesitations, irregular rhythm, and a progressive loss of speed as the movement repeats. Finger tapping is a standard way to examine fine motor control and bradykinesia, although even experts do not always agree on how abnormal a given tapping pattern is. That is exactly why this sign is useful but not diagnostic. If your tapping collapses quickly, something in the motor system deserves a second look. The third sign is handwriting change. Write one normal sentence the way you usually do. Then write it again after 30 seconds. If the letters start shrinking, crowding, stiffening, or becoming progressively less fluid, pay attention. Handwriting abnormalities are common in neurological disorders, and micrographia, abnormally small handwriting, is especially associated with Parkinsonian patterns. Again, that does not mean smaller handwriting equals one diagnosis. It means the hand is showing you that rhythm, scaling, and motor output are no longer automatic in the way they used to be. The fourth sign is numbness, tingling, burning, or electric sensations in the fingers. This is the sign most people dismiss because it feels so common. They blame sleeping funny, typing too much, or age. Sometimes that is true, but peripheral neuropathy frequently shows up with sensory symptoms like tingling, numbness, or pain. And peripheral neuropathy can also occur in mitochondrial disorders. If the hand symptoms are persistent, symmetric, progressive, or paired with weakness, then the problem is no longer just annoying. It becomes a nervous system signal. The fifth sign is grip weakness or unexplained dropping. You reach for a mug, a bag, a pan, a door handle, and the force is just not there. Or worse, it is there for 1 second and then fades. Muscle weakness is a core feature of mitochondrial myopathies, and hand weakness can also appear when neuropathy affects motor fibers. The reason this clue matters is that people often do not notice weakness when it is mild. They notice the consequences of weakness. Jars become harder. Shopping bags feel heavier. Buttons feel annoying. The object falls before they consciously register that the hand did not do its job. The sixth sign is loss of dexterity. This is different from raw weakness. A person can still produce force and yet look clumsy with coins, keys, pills, earrings, zippers, or shirt buttons. Fine motor function depends on coordinated communication across the premotor cortex, motor cortex, cerebellum, basal ganglia, corticospinal tracts, peripheral nerves, and muscles. That is why dexterity problems show up across many neurological disorders, even when strength is not catastrophically low. If your fingers suddenly feel stupid on tasks that used to be automatic, that is a real signal. The seventh sign is abnormal finger postures, cramping, twisting, or a hand that seems to adopt a strange position when you write, type, or use utensils. This is where dystonia enters the picture. Dystonia is an abnormality of movement and posture caused by abnormal neural control of muscle contractions. And dystonia is also increasingly recognized within mitochondrial disease cohorts. A hand that curls, overcontracts, stiffens, or pulls into an odd shape during a skilled task is not behaving like a simple overused hand. It is behaving like a hand receiving distorted motor instructions. Now here is where all 7 signs connect. Tremor, slowed tapping, handwriting shrinkage, sensory symptoms, weak grip, clumsy dexterity, and abnormal postures all look different on the surface. But underneath they are all expensive tasks. They all require stable neuronal firing, intact axonal transport, reliable synaptic communication, and enough ATP to execute and correct movement in real time. Mitochondrial dysfunction does not have to destroy a neuron outright to create visible problems. It only has to make the system less efficient. And when that happens, the hands often show you first, because the margin for error in fine motor control is so small. This is also why the hand can mislead you if you look too casually. People see tremor and think anxiety. They see numbness and think circulation. They see weak grip and think arthritis. They see smaller handwriting and think I was rushing. Sometimes they are right, but sometimes the hand is the first visible output of a central problem, a peripheral nerve problem or a muscle energy problem that has been building quietly for months. Clinicians explicitly use the hand to help distinguish central from peripheral causes and organic from non-neurological ones. So here is the practical screen I want you to remember. 1. Hold your hands out and look for tremor. 2. Tap finger to thumb 10 times as fast and as wide as possible and see whether the movement shrinks. 3. Write one sentence twice and look for crowding or size loss. 4. Pick up a coin or key and rotate it between the fingers. 5. Ask yourself whether jars, bags, lids, or buttons have become harder in a way that feels new. None of these tests diagnose a disease, but all of them borrow from real hand function domains neurologists and researchers already track: tremor, finger tapping, dexterity, and handwriting. And here is the part most people need to hear. If one of these signs is mild and has been stable for years, that is one thing. If it is new, asymmetric, progressive, or paired with walking changes, speech changes, falls, facial masking, burning pain, or persistent numbness, that is a different conversation entirely. Unusual tingling, weakness, or pain in the hands deserves medical attention, especially when it is spreading or interfering with daily function. Mitochondrial dysfunction is only one possible explanation. Parkinsonian disorders, peripheral neuropathy, cervical cord disease, medication effects, thyroid disease, vitamin deficiencies, autoimmune processes, and entrapment neuropathies all belong on the list. So no, your hands cannot literally tell you with certainty that your brain mitochondria are dying, but they can absolutely tell you that the nervous system controlling them may be under stress. And if you ignore those signals because they seem small, you lose one of the body's earliest and most visible warning systems. The hand is where invisible neurological inefficiency becomes visible human struggle. A shake, a pause, a dropped object, a smaller signature, a finger that will not obey. That is how the nervous system whispers before it starts shouting.